Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think we still have a few folks joining, but let's try to keep it down to 30 minutes. We're going to get started here. My name's Jason Newbold. I'm the CSO here at LinkSource Technologies. I've also got Beth Popham, our Director of Marketing, joining us, and of course our security partner, who this is all about today, Chris Nieheis from Vigilant. What I'd like to do is start with a little bit about LinkSource, and then we'll jump into what this is all about at the end of the day, the security side of things. A little bit about LinkSource. We've been around and been in business for about 15 years. We work with clients on IT, telecom, cloud services. One of the key things we've done with most of our clients is to help them manage their telecom environment. Where we've had quite a bit of success is really driving ROI for our clients through the contract negotiations with their providers, both wireless and wireline. What I like to always tell clients this, really right, one of the things that we've been talking to clients about is what their objectives are as we go into 2015 and beyond. And obviously with everything in the news around security, that has been a big topic. Here's a little bit about what Chris is going to cover today, and some specifics around time to detect security breaches, the cost to resolve these issues, and as everybody's going to see, it's a significant cost. A lot of them may take 6 months plus to detect and resolve, but probably the cost is really not the biggest issue. It really becomes what it does from a jeopardy standpoint to a company's reputation and what those long-term effects are. So kind of with that, I think I'm going to turn this over to Chris to discuss a bit more about himself, his company, and really why they're unique and how they provide their services in the market today. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, I'm going to let you take it from here and run with it, and hopefully we can get this the slides going the correct way.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, it looks like it's working now. So
okay.
Greetings from Ohio. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Afternoon my time, almost afternoon your time. But I do appreciate you taking your time. Time, especially for all of us on the call, is very important, and it is a privilege to be a part of your day. So thank you for that. A little about myself. I'm the owner and CEO of Vigilant Technology Solutions. We are an IT cybersecurity company based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We also do cybersecurity training for our customers. That's the cybersecurity personal training part. I've been in the IT industry for 17 years. Half of my career was spent in the food supply chain and moving frozen food, and securing that movement of that food across the United States. And the other half was spent in the automotive and telecommunications fields prior to starting Vigilant. So multiple roles in companies, senior engineers all the way to IT director, prior to Vigilant. I'm also a cybersecurity instructor at the Advanced Technical Intelligence Center in Dayton, Ohio, Wright Pat Air Force Base. There's a significant shortage of IT professionals in the United States, and to the point of that we are outnumbered. And so one of the things that we did to secure a supply of individuals that were skilled, but then also for us, but also to the community, is we created a 10-week, 40-hour-week program to do a submersion into the cybersecurity world and train analysts from an intelligence standpoint. Go to the next slide if you don't mind. Vigilant itself, we've been operating since 2009. We incorporated in 2010 fully. We are privately held. We have a no-sale policy, so we're not building Vigilant or CyberDNA to just sell it off. We actually have commitment to our employees as well as our customers that we will not sell the company. I actually don't know what my retirement plan is one day, but we will remain privately held. We will continue to grow Vigilant that way, and will not sell the company off. The company, we grew at 35% last year, and in the first quarter this year, we have had more sales than all of last year. We began beta testing CyberDNA in 2013. We started the company back in 2009 and as to do what we're doing now. We started developing CyberDNA back then and released it into beta in 2013. We launched into sales production in 2014 after that year of beta. Our analysts and even our leadership, our employees, and this is something that really does set us apart from other companies, is that our leadership are people that did this, and hands on the ground, fought the battle against the bad guys. And so if you look at our team, we come from GE, NORAD, Rockwell. We have people on our team that have designed the largest security detection network in the world. We've done security detection on on significantly fast networks, 10 gig and beyond, and in very secure locations like China, Russia, and around the globe, in areas where you have to deal with very high attacks against not only the company that you are watching, but also the detection methods that you do. Our analysts have government security clearances, ranging from security to TF, SCI, and as well as GIAC certifications. The customers we have, range in CyberDNA can fit easily into any industry, but the industries that we've been, selling within and working with and partnering with have been automotive, construction, financial, healthcare, manufacturing. We are now working with studios in the LA area, as well as the banking industry, deeper into the financial investment companies, and accounting firms. You can go to the next one. Yep. So, the big question is, and really this is why we started Vigilant back in 2009, because we were asking the same question. We were watching environments that were very highly attacked, very high-profile defense contractor companies, food supply chain companies, telecommunication companies. We were getting hacked significantly on our edge. But then around 2009, you started to see that drop off. And what was dropping off was not the attacks, but the detection of those attacks. Can you go back one? And so we asked that question of ourselves. Why are these attackers getting through our perimeter, our defense in-depth strategy, and now they're on the inside of our network, and our detection methods are not detecting them? And what we came to back then was two things. Really, one, signature-based detection, and the second is compliance and the security around compliance. Now, compliance is a good term. It brings good connotation. But what it's actually created, and we'll talk about this here in a few minutes, is a paradigm that has led to insecurity. So the first one was signature-based detection. And what we saw back then, and the scary part about it is that it hasn't changed in the last 6 years. But, we used to, when we originally, as we were going along, what you would see is you would see people attacking people. And then the bad guys got smart, said, hey, I want to maximize my time. Let's create some bots. Let's automate what we're doing. Let's attack those same people. Then the security industry said, well, they're attacking us with automated ways that are consistent. They don't change. And so let's start to learn how they attack. Let's create signatures that will watch the network traffic and will then determine if it's bad or good. I'm sure everyone on the phone here knows what signature-based detection is, but the real flaw in signature-based detection is the way that is that all of the security products out there are based on it right now. They were back in 2009. But, if you look at it, it's the same way that we do detection of viruses and vaccines. I travel into Nigeria pretty significantly. Significantly for most people, I go there at least 2 times a year. And West Africa got hit by Ebola last year. The interesting thing about when a virus hits a region is a couple things. One, the CDC, they take their mind share of what they're focusing on, whether, whatever virus they're focusing on in the world. And if something becomes an outbreak like that, they take their best minds and they put it on that outbreak. Once they get on that outbreak, they then have to collect enough samples of Ebola to be able to develop a vaccine for it. Now, the unfortunate thing about that is that it means that enough people have to get infected with it and die from Ebola or get far enough along in the disease so they can study it and then create a vaccine. And that's what they did. They created a vaccine, which was great. But the problem, once you have a vaccine, the big fear that they have is what happens if the virus mutates, right? And so once you've studied it and once enough people have gotten infected by it, and it's widespread enough, they then take their team and they look at it and they verify it. They learn how it works. They create a vaccine. But then if the virus mutates, they have to start all over again. People have to get infected again by it enough to create a scare, or widespread enough to create enough samples, and then they create it again. And then if it mutates again, they have to do the process over and over again. Well, that's the same way that, the next-gen firewalls are based, that we use today. It's the same way that antivirus is based in today's world, and it's the same way it was back in 2009. And if you look at the roadmap, the roadmaps are not much different. Even Cisco just recently purchased SourceFire. Same thing. Great product, but it's completely signature-based detection. And so what that leads us to is that all of the security appliances that are at our edges and our proxies, our AV, they all rely on the same subset of signatures to be able to detect the attack, which means if you don't know about the attack before it actually happens, then you're left with an undetectable attack. And that's a problem in today's world. The second part is compliance. Compliance, and if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. It's this myth. You can hit next again. The thought of compliance. I speak around the country, and whenever I speak, I always ask people, how does it feel when you're told you're compliant? And you can ask yourself that right now. How does it make you feel if you get audited and you turn out to be, you pass the audit, flying colors, first time, which would be amazing. But then you're told you are compliant. You go to your leadership, say, yes, we're compliant, everything's great. We're all familiar with PCI, HIPAA, IRS regulation controls, and different policies within organizations, but what compliance has actually led many companies to come to is that compliance equals security in their minds. And so when you go to leadership and you say, hey, we are compliant, then all of a sudden that box is checked off on their mind, and all of the security initiatives you have within a company are based around compliance. And so if you do meet compliance, then the emergency is over, and moving down paths of other initiatives really are kind of stopped at that level. But here at Vigilant, what we have come to believe and really see is true is that compliance does not equal security, and that security, if done well, is actually well beyond compliance. And so security really is equal to visibility. And what I mean by that is, in today's world, we continually see operational need go up. Bring your own device, mobile employees, cloud-based solutions, things of that sort that require operational need to go up. Faster internet connections, so we get rid of MPLS back to one location, so we have a larger threat footprint for the attackers. Those kinds of things cause operational need to go up, which conversely makes control drop to the floor. Now, the missing component that organizations are missing is visibility. Because if you can have the most amount of visibility possible, then you can find the attackers fast, and you can stop them, and you can learn what they're doing, and you can modify your defenses very quickly to prevent them from attacking again. Now, visibility is extremely important because in today's world, just like we found back in 2009 on, corporations that spent, millions upon millions of dollars protecting themselves where attackers were still getting through, is that, the idea of always stopping the attacker at the perimeter with defense in depth strategy is gone. It's a thing of the past. Now the mindset needs to change to how do I stop them as fast as possible once they get in? Because the attacker will get into our environment. We have a lot of different, the perimeter is gone and they will get in. And so the idea has to now go towards that realm, which means we have to have that visibility. We have to, once we find out who they are, learn from the attacks, then we have to be able to adapt our defenses. And the reason being is that the moment you're attacked, at that point, after the initial attack has happened, the attacker gets what they want, they're dropping your information into chat rooms that they frequent, and everyone else knows now how to hack into your environment in those chat rooms, and they're going to come in and find what they can as well. So you need to be able to stop that attacker, but also adapt your defenses And it all has to be in real time because the attacker will attack immediately. They will get what they want. They will go low and slow long enough to get in very quickly, get what they want, and then get out. And if you can't have real-time action, then it doesn't stop it. And that's what we're finding with Target, with JP Morgan, with Anthem. I mean, the only reason Anthem found it was because a admin was looking through log files, fixing another problem, and saw his username come across the screen with, logging into a database he didn't log into. And so, it just goes to show the detection tools that are out there are not working for some of the largest organizations in the world. Even recently, 100 banks across the world for 2 years have been hacked, $1 billion stolen. They didn't see the attacker for 2 years, well after all of the money was stolen. You can go to the next one. Next slide, please. And just case in point, you look at this slide, it represents 627 million people, $12 billion in paid out, and this is just $12 billion in paying for identity theft protection for the 627 million people. But, if you look at this, what is that, ask yourself, what did every one of these companies have in common other than that they were hacked in 2014? If we can go to the next slide, you'll see, they were, I'll tell you, actually, it didn't miss, but they were all compliant. Every single one of those were attacked. They were attacked, they were compliant, the attacker got through, and they stole significant amounts of money, and those companies lost significant amount of reputation. So, we're at the point current detection capabilities are not working. Well, what does that cost? Well, in today's world, 54% of malware typically evades antivirus detection. Less than 2% of those breaches that are out there are detected in the first 24 hours, and less than 46 in the first 30 days. So that's pretty significant. But it's even worse when you look at, in all of those studied, that were part of the study, 60% of those breaches had data exfiltrated in the first 24 hours. And that's pretty significant. If we saw earlier today that the average, you can see down below, the average to detect an attack, the average amount of days it takes is 215 to 243 days. So, if you look at the data that is exfiltrated in that first 24 hours, that means they have 214 to 242 days to do whatever else they want in the environment. And in 92% of those cases, all of those those breaches, they were discovered by a third party or customer. So that the customer calling up and saying, hey, we think someone's stolen our credit card from you, or the FBI or the IRS, somebody knocking on your door. It happened in Bank of America in 2013. They were sued by Chelan County Hospital. Someone had gotten into Bank of America's payroll system, had modified payouts, had diverted some money, and Chelan County Hospital came back and actually sued Bank of America for $1.3 million and won. So pretty crazy stuff. You go to the next slide. So that leads us, we saw the problem, signature-based detection isn't working. All the devices out there, proxies are, automated detection. Those things are all based off of the same thing. And if you've heard people say before, well, I got a virus, how did I get it when I have antivirus? It's all connected to the same thing. So what are we doing about it? Why did we start Vigilant and set out to do something different? So what we did was we created a patent-pending network of distributed sensors that span multiple companies, industries, and locations. Why that's important is you're getting real-time access to intelligence that is associated with your industry, with your business sector, the region of the country you're in, and the U.S. and the nation as a whole. Now, CyberDNA is not we're not selling a product, we're not selling an appliance. CyberDNA is a service. It is a way for you to, within 15 minutes, turn up a device that attaches back to our team and have our team be an extension, almost a step, augmenting your team to bring very high-level detection that you can't get, that is nowhere else, and very high-end security analysts analyzing that traffic for you and giving you information that is very specific and very pointed at what's happening in your environment to the minute. You know, we take that 215 days on average down to minutes and hours, stopping that attack before it happens, you know, and when it does, stopping it with enough information to get them out of there fast enough so that your incident response costs go way down. You can go back one more. One of the things where we fill the gap is you see a lot of companies that love to have to come in from a post-incident response standpoint, because they're going to come in, charge $500 an hour to $1,000 an hour for a 7-month engagement. What we're saying is, let's go well before that. Let's jump past signature-based detection. Let's really find the bad guy well before they're able to do bad stuff. So how do we do that? You know, we did create the distributed sensor network. Our patent is built in a lot of how it protects itself, how we communicate to it, how we're updated. Now, we do place an appliance in your environment. We do not sell that appliance, which is very important to know. An attacker can't just buy our appliance off the shelf, reverse engineer it, and learn how to get through it. We're very careful on what customers we even put them in. The great thing about CyberDNA is, you know, you can have that very fast information set. So we find something at one location in one company, we can also, you know, detect that in your environment very quickly. When traffic does come in, we run that traffic through, we do run it through some signature-based detection. The reason we do that is because it takes about 30% of the noise away. We run it through heuristics, anomaly-based detection, and intelligence detection. And by the way, the heuristics is a combination of automation and people. You'll see a lot of heuristic products in the industry, but they're either manually set by your team or they're behavioral learning heuristics based around you know, something that device already knows. The problem with that automation is that you could potentially whitelist something in your environment that is bad and never see it again. With CyberDNA, you get to see attacks in the past. We do full packet capture on our devices. That information stays at your site. It's fully compliant, but it allows us to go back in time. It's kind of like TiVo for your network, full network recording. And when we do see an attack, we can go back in time and verify it before we even notify your team. So what you see is, you know, with most products, your team has to do all the work. You're getting hundreds of thousands of emails a day that your team has to go through. With CyberDNA, you get very specific communications only if that attack was actually a true event that was correct. You're not going to get any false positives from us. Your team would become very accustomed to answering the phone when we call, or answering a ticket, because you'll start to see that when we communicate to you of an event, that event has been fully verified and detected. And you know, CyberDNA really is it's an overlay. We're a Sentry that, you know, sits over your network to make sure all of your devices work. We do verify that your firewall is working correctly. You know, we're verifying your proxies are working, your AV, and when they fail, we let you know. And we give you that visibility that's that deep dive into your environment. Next slide, please.
Hey, Chris, as you're going into this next slide, I just want to time check you, and, you know, we're getting to that lunch hour for some of these folks, so I don't want to interrupt that. So, you know, maybe 5 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay.
So really, CyberDNA is a distributed security service platform. It is a appliance we put in front of your firewall. We actually use very high-speed PAP. They do not degrade your network at all. We sit in front of your firewall and in back. We also can sit in between secured networks to make sure, from a DLP standpoint, to make sure traffic isn't passing through your network. We sit in front of your firewall to make sure attacks aren't coming from the outside, and we sit on the inside to see if those attacks get through, as well as if they, something's originating from your inside. If you're a CyberDNA customer, you get, as a free service, a DNS black hole, where if you point your DNS to us, we can do active blocking of outbound traffic based upon, is it malicious traffic from a DNS, and we'll just return back a page that is branded for you that basically says, hey, you're not following the policies, you just tried to access explicit material or web filtering. And then additionally, as an additional service beyond CyberDNA, we do managed endpoint protection, where you can install, it's an antivirus client that sits in your, that runs on your endpoints. It points back to us. We pull down AV signatures from the major AV companies and then push those back out to you. But where we accentuate antivirus technology is when we learn something about your network specifically, because one of the issues with AB is you're not going to get a signature in your environment unless it's widespread enough to matter to the global security environment. If we find something in your environment, today, we're going to create a signature for you and push that out to your AB clients, whether it's 0 day or not. So you don't have to wait that time period before it gets widespread enough. And that's very important when you look at companies like Target, where they were the only company that was attacked first. And so when you're the only company that's attacked first and they come through you, they're going to get there and be undetected for quite some time. If you want to go to the next slide. So if you look at the difference between us and other teams, with us, with other teams, you're getting email alerts. You're getting a device that is not powerful enough to record your historical traffic. It's not powerful enough to give you pertinent information on attacks. There are a lot of devices out there. I won't tell you what companies, but there's a lot of companies out there that have appliances that they put in, and they're only able to load, a small subset of recent months of intelligence because their systems can't handle beyond that. So if an attacker comes in, scans your environment, sees that device is there, they're just going to attack you with something that's much older, and that device won't even capture it. With CyberDNA, that's not an issue. We do heuristic, anomaly, intelligence, signature-based detection. We can sandbox traffic in our environment, full packet capture, software vulnerability detection, and live security analyst. Now, software vulnerability is very important to note as well. We do have a customer portal that we've designed from customer request for your team. Your team never has to log into it unless they want to, but we give a significant amount of information to existing security teams so that they don't have to have all these disparate tools that are out there, floating around. We've built all the functionality that they would need from a team standpoint into the portal to use as a tool. And it's also something that you can request adds to or revisions if you want to see something different. But inside of that tool, we have a tab that allows you to see in an agentless way all of the software running in your environment. We don't need any credentials from you or anything like that. We're pulling it right off the wire. But we're able to give you a software inventory of what's running in your environment and what versions, whether that's, all the operating systems running in your environment, all the browsers, all the different versions of client applications and such like that. You want to go to the next slide? You want to run to the next slide? So here's a couple of things, and this is the slide I'll end on, but, we are able to show you current attacks in your environment, any malware running on your environment. Are people using Dropbox? Are they backing up to Dropbox? Are there clear text passwords going across your environment? We get asked a lot, can you see encrypted traffic on our environment? No, we can't see the encrypted traffic that goes across, but what we can tell you is when traffic on your environment should be encrypted and it's not, so we can help you protect that. We can see the encrypted traffic, but it's encrypted, right? But we're also able to tell you, did you just have a social security number passed across your network in clear text? We'll show you existing vulnerabilities, out-of-date software, application failures. We can determine if traffic's not normal, explicit material and bandwidth usage. CyberDNA is extremely different from what anything you're going to see out there, and it's completely new. From an approach, and we're finding things in people's environments that have been there a while that they just never knew about. Now, what we do with CyberDNA is, we want customers that, believe in our product, and so one of the things in our service. And so what we do is we put CyberDNA as a free trial into a company's environment. It takes about 15 minutes to install. That's just racking it. We put a tap in front and in back. It's actually a tap in there, but a tap in front and in back of your firewall. And we run that trial for 5 days. We do a full threat assessment at the end of that. It's an executive level report. It's something you would pay as $6,000 to $10,000 to come out, maybe even more than that, depending upon your environment. But we offer it as a free threat assessment completely for you that tells you exactly what's happening from an active threat in your environment, all the software running in your environment, and vulnerabilities. You'll see vulnerabilities from that software list in your environment as well. Once we do that trial, it's a 5-day trial, you have the decision to make if you want to keep CyberDNA or not. If you don't, you just send it back to us. No questions asked, no obligation. You keep the free threat assessment. If you do want to keep it, it automatically switches over to a production account, and we begin tuning the sensors for you specifically, and really working very deeply with your team. Along that path, and we find this, like I said, in 100% of the installations we've put in, we have found bad things, some varying level of degree, and most of them being medium level stuff, like where data leaving, the network, being high. Sometimes we've seen nation states attacking nation states through people's web servers, but we can see things that other devices can't, and other services can't. So we're able to reveal that to you in that 5-day trial. And a lot of times, trials actually end early because we show so much in that first couple hours with the team that they actually ask us to end the trial early and send them out to all their other locations. And with that, we can open it up for, I guess, back to you, Jason. Take the time.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chris. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Sorry we ran a little long here, but as mentioned kind of in the beginning, we'll open it up to questions. Again, if you have any questions, please use the chat bar. Additionally, on this last slide, I just want to point out that if you are interested in seeing a demo of the service or interested in a free trial, you can go to the website listed here. We'll also send out this deck after the meeting for your reference, so you'll have this. And then behind this, we've got several slides that, again, we wanted to not kill you by death with PowerPoint today, so we've included them as an appendix that gives some additional information and customer examples. So at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to Beth as she's been capturing the questions through this. Beth, any questions that we have, please, let's go ahead and address with Chris.
We do have a couple of questions. The first one for Chris is, does the full packet capture network leave my network?
No. Yeah, so the full packet capture, and this is very important from a compliance standpoint, we actually leave the full packet capture on the device at your site, so it doesn't leave there unless we have to do an incident. Now, CyberDNA is going to cover, we're gonna walk with your team through that incident. So if we do see something that happens, we're gonna give you a very, very specific communication. This is exactly what's happening in your environment. This is how it's happening. This is how to stop it. We're going to work with you through stopping it, and we're going to help watch it for you after you stop it to make sure it's not continuing anymore. It does save your team a significant amount of time because they're not searching around trying to find things. If Cryptolocker hits your network, for instance, we're going to be able to tell you exactly what systems have it right when it happens. Now, the full packet capture has a lot of that historical data in it, so we do leave that there. So that's where, it's pulling everything off your network. We want to make sure that it's secured. We can encrypt it on the device depending on your industry. Some customers want it encrypted, some don't. But it does stay there. Now, if we're going to do an incident investigation, we will request to pull some of that off. We'll catalog that for you and log it, and then we destroy it after the fact.
Great, thank you. Another question, how does CyberDNA affect my compliance? Is Vigilant compliant?
Vigilant is compliant. We have customers in some of the top 50 accounting firms. We're in some of the largest investment firms in the U.S., pharmacy, healthcare. We actually accentuate your security posture and take you beyond many of the compliance regulations. MPAA, we even for like studios and PCI, IRS, we take you beyond, and HIPAA, we take you beyond the requirements and actually fulfill a lot of the requirements for you. So we can accentuate that. Now, one thing that's important to note as well is that CyberDNA, if you're a CyberDNA customer, Vigilant is we will never hire anyone that is not, and everyone's on our staff right now. Everyone has to be to work for Vigilant a U.S.-based citizen of the U.S. In order to be, on our staff. That's important because of, where your traffic goes, from a background check standpoint, ensuring that our employees are trusted, and can, pass regulations like ITAR and things like that. We've begun some discussions with space agencies along those lines, and, we are one of the few organizations that can actually meet those standards, because we are not going to do the follow the sun around the world, support. You're going to always get someone here in the U.S., and we're committed to that.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Or Chris, I'm sorry. We have one more question. How hard is it to implement CyberDNA, and how much resource time is needed from my team?
No, that's actually a question we get quite frequently, because it seems like it would be very difficult to install. The time that it takes from your team is during the installation period. We will do an initial phone call beforehand just to walk you through a real short 10-question questionnaire just to let us have some information on your environment. But the sensor gets delivered to your location fully configured. So you'll take it out of the box. Like I said, it takes about 15 minutes to rack it. It costs about 60 seconds of downtime to your environment because you're unplugging some cables and plugging them back in. But in total, you have two devices to rack in your rack. Most installations take 2 U of space. Some take 3. 6 network cables, 3 power cords, and you hit a power button, and it turns on. And immediately, you have better detection than most defense contractors and even beyond the defense contractors. So.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And for other questions, if you didn't have your question answered, just to be sensitive to time, we will answer those in email and reply back to you in the next hour or so. As Jason said in the beginning, we have recorded this webinar, and we will be sending it out with the deck and also posting it to our website. So if you have any questions, feel free to go to our website. There is a link that says schedule or request a demo. You can click on that, and that will notify us that you're interested in that. And thank you very much for your time and interest today.
Thanks again, Chris. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.